It's an absolute mess at Northwestern. Late Saturday night, Northwestern President Michael Schill said he may have erred in only suspending Pat Fitzgerald for 2 weeks without pay based on a hazing investigation. Jesse Simonson here with me. Jesse, this is a lot to unpack here, but basically, Northwestern does a hazing investigation. It lasts months and months and months. They come out with this punishment on Friday, 2 weeks without pay. On Saturday, the Northwestern student newspaper comes out with an expose detailing the hazing accusations. No one really denies any of this, by the way. And then you get the whole Northwestern team issuing a statement backing Pat Fitzgerald, and then Northwestern's president saying, I need to revisit this, which sounds like probably really bad news for Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I mean, what's kind of crazy about it is how vague everything was, I think, before Northwestern's student newspaper released these, insane details. And the fact that they used language like barbaric culture, there was a lot of just gross and eye-popping stuff in that story. Both of us alumni of the Alligator. I mean, it certainly makes you proud of what these young students did at Northwestern, because without that story, I think we're just kind of left with people kind of shrugging their shoulders and being like, well, something happened, but we didn't really know many details. Now that we have the details, the president and Fitz are going to have to kind of answer for this.
This sounds a lot like the Mike Rice case at Rutgers. For those who don't remember, Mike Rice was the basketball coach at Rutgers. He was accused of fostering a really nasty environment where he'd just scream at players. He'd throw stuff at them, throw balls at their crotches, stuff like that. And he got suspended after an investigation. There was video of it, and the administration knew there was video of it, but I'm assuming they didn't think it would ever get out. The video got out, and all of a sudden they had to fire him. And then I think the AD ended up losing his job over that as well. In this case, it sounds like a situation where they hired a law firm, did this investigation. Again, the investigation did not do anything to refute the accusations. If you read the executive summary that Northwestern put out, which was very vague, as you said, it didn't really refute anything. It said this is happening, but Pat Fitzgerald didn't know about it. And I think they thought the specifics would never get out. And how in the world, at a place where you tell us every 5 seconds you have the best journalism school in the world, did you think this wasn't going to get out?
I mean, it is pretty remarkable. And then when you add in the fact that last night you and I were texting, the players, released this statement and they say it's the entire well, it can't be the entire team, because we know sometimes.
Well, I think that player's not on the team anymore.
I don't think that player's on the team anymore, but I think that, they use the word fabrication and misrepresentation. Those details were extremely explicit for that to be made up. And like you said, the investigators did not refute any specifics. They just acknowledged that Pat Fitzgerald, who's been there for 17 years, and we can kind of get into his, situation in all this. It's complicated and it's not good. It's not good for anyone at Northwestern.
Well, and here's the thing. Pat Fitzgerald, for those who don't know Northwestern that well, the best player on the best team in Northwestern history, maybe the best player in Northwestern history, was the National Defensive Player of the Year the same year that they won the
Twice.
Big Ten and went to the Rose Bowl. Right. And then probably the best coach in Northwestern history. Gary Barnett was the coach who took that team to the Rose Bowl, but Pat Fitzgerald took over after the death of Randy Walker and really changed that program, made it very competitive in the Big Ten, or kept going with what Randy Walker was doing. And then 2 Big Ten championship game appearances. He's been a very good coach to a point. The wheels have fallen off competitively in the last couple of years. Let me throw some numbers at you, Jesse. They're 2-16 in Big Ten play in the last 2 seasons. They've been outscored 570 to 218. This is a non-competitive team. They wiped out their defense, their offensive staff after the 21 season, their defensive staff after the 22 season. They're kind of just floating there in terms of competitiveness. And I wonder if they went into this not thinking the way that a more cutthroat football university would have thought. Because if you're in another Big Ten type school one near the top of the standings or an SEC school. If you have a coach who's performing like this and this situation happens, you go, oh, we can fire this guy for free. Because Pat Fitzgerald is owed a ton of money if you fire him for losing. But they didn't look at this like that. I think they went into this with the how do we save Fitz mentality. And now they're realizing, wait a second, we look awful and we could have just fired this guy for free.
And I mean, I'll throw out another number for you. They're 7-29 in the last 3 seasons combined in non-COVID years. They were 0-11 on American soil a year ago. I mean, this is just a football program that's been trending badly in the wrong direction. Fitz got that job when he was 32. He's not old right now. He's only 48, and he's a guy, again, you and I were talking about this. I mean, he's turned down multiple NFL dalliances. The Bears and other, organizations have had interest in him. I pulled up a quote that he said earlier this offseason, and I think it kind of resonates with the current situation that he's dealing with. It was in regards to what you mentioned about all the staff changes the last 2 years. And he basically said, it's unacceptable, and it starts and ends with me. We can't stand Pat. He obviously is, they have said that he had no quote unquote intimate knowledge of what was happening in this in the alleged hazing incident. But the fact that it does start and end with the head coach, this could be a case where we're going down some litigation here because either Northwestern may be trying to get out of the contract or Pat Fitzgerald is going to say, pay me my money because I didn't know.
Yeah, it's a private school, so we don't have the exact contract details. I mean, the last IRS forms that came out, he was making, I believe, between $5 and $6 million a year. We can probably safely assume he's under contract for a good number of years, and a lot of that's guaranteed. So that's the situation. Now, here's what I would do if I were Pat Fitzgerald. If they fire me, I'm going after my money because I'm going to say what changed between Friday when you had this investigative report based upon thousands of interviews that said one thing, and then you get the story in the Northwestern student paper, which probably those details were all divulged to the investigators. So what changed? What changed was public perception.
Right.
So that's the part. If I'm Pat Fitzgerald, I'm going to go after my money, and Northwestern may, if they decide to fire him, may end up having to pay some money to fire him because they didn't do it when they could have done it.
And the timing on this could not be worse, from a program's perspective in terms of them trying to turn the page in 2023. They have a tough schedule again, obviously, playing in the Big Ten. They open the season, and kind of the who can avoid
Rutgers
the cellar,
on CBS.
Who can avoid the cellar dweller, in the conference this fall. And I mean, this is not, Northwestern has always been kind of, they have specifically under Pat Fitzgerald, they've kind of, heralded themselves as kind of the bastions of culture and toughness and family, and everything in that report and that the investigation that the student newspaper revealed is the antithesis of that.
Well, right. And I know that some people go, oh, this is just the softening of American culture. Let me tell you, if you try to pull what they allegedly tried to pull at a MAC school, at a Sunbelt school, at an SEC school, a senior might wind up in the hospital or worse trying to pull some of that stuff. That doesn't happen in a lot of places because you do that to the wrong freshman and that person might pull a knife or a gun on you. So you got to be a little bit careful with this stuff. And look, I'm not one of those people who thinks that a head coach of a program of 120 players knows what is going on with every single player at all times. They are not walking through locker room regularly. I get that. But if it's part of your culture, which that's what the Northwestern student paper story made it sound like, you've probably got some idea.
Yeah. I mean, the folks that are acting like this is a softy, situation have completely, this is like too long, didn't read. They just decided not to read the story because the details in there. I mean, you've had Cole Kubliak and other people on Twitter being like, there's no, because one of the gross.
Yeah, Cole played center at Auburn. He's not doing a
naked
naked center quarterback exchange. He would have. He would have fought his way out of that.
Exactly. And so, Cole's as tough as they come. And so there are plenty of guys. This is not like a soft situation. This is gross alleged incidents occurred. And if true, Pat Fitzgerald and other parties are going to, pay the price for it.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Michael Schill says he's going to revisit this with the stakeholders at Northwestern. The about face, releasing it near midnight on a Saturday night, that tells me that they're going, uh-oh, we messed this up. And I'll give you a date, Jesse. July 26th, that's Northwestern's day at Big Ten Media Day. I wonder if Michael Schill was sitting there going, we are staring down the barrel of a 30-minute infomercial on hazing, because that's all the questions are going to be about for Pat Fitzgerald if he gets up at Big Ten Media Days. And that's going to be on the Big Ten Network live. I can't imagine they want that to happen, because that's going to look really bad.
Well, we know they certainly don't want it to happen, because they basically tried to, I don't know if you want to say bury it, but the initial 2-week suspension was, almost like a Friday news dump type situation. So this is clearly something that the administration wanted to kind of skirt past and kind of, welcome football talk in the season. And no matter which path they choose, whether they keep Fitz or move on from them, they will not be in control of that narrative anymore.
No, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. My guess is we get an answer to this before Big Ten Media Day. So next few weeks could be very interesting in Evanston. Jesse Simonton, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Andy.